Well, good morning, folks. The real Captain Kirk here. Again, I'd like to say live from 360 Studio in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, but obviously we are still day 27 remote here. A lot to cover here today. Looking at the CDC flu trends here, the red line was our season this past year. Type B was the big, huge surge around Christmas time, and then we had the lull, and then unfortunately we had a somewhat unusual type A surge, a secondary surge that peaked again around Valentine's Day, and then we started our typical spring plunge, but then unfortunately, obviously, COVID-19 reemerged, and so we have a very unusual three-spike season here this year. The good news, let's hope COVID, at least on the East Coast, West Coast, maybe has started obviously earlier there. Maybe it's peaking, and hopefully we're on our way down with the spring downward trend. Let's hope. The other thing that's actually down this year is long-standing tornadoes here. Tornadoes across the U.S. We're at about 264. An average year would be about 309 as of this week. So we're about 15% below average. The least year was back around 14 when about 100. And the real active year was 08 when we had 621. So we actually think this trend's going to continue through May. We think it's going to be a much milder, drier May across the country. So way down from last year's extremely active May. Don't really think that's going to happen here this year. Looking at this week here, the middle of April, 13th through 19th, cold. 6.4 degrees colder than last year. That makes it the #1 coldest in over 35 years. The only mild spots are down there in Florida and the West Coast. So again, pretty cold here. Driest in 3 years, but still 15th wettest, so kind of in the middle of the pack, near average across the country. Snowier than last year. We had the system moving through the upper Midwest plains, now through the Great Lakes into southeast Canada. So that makes it the third snowiest in 35 years. So much above average snowfall with that Midwest upper Great Lakes system. Looking at the last full week of April here, 20 through 26 April, moderating trends. Definitely see a milder trend starting to materialize. 1.1 degrees cooler than last year, but still 12th warmest in 35 years nationally. Wettest in 3 years, 4th wettest in 35 years. So still on the stormy side. Got to watch for some, again, severe weather in the deep southeast as we go into next week. Snowfall's most in 7 years, but again, these are very small numbers at this stage of the season. So 13th most in 35 years and limited to the high elevations of the Rockies and even New England. But again, very spotty in terms of snowfall this time of year. Looking at the 2-week world aggregate here, so taking the next 2 weeks and aggregating across the world. Again, generally cold east, obviously eastern U.S. and Canada. Warm in Mexico, western U.S., Alaska, Greenland, Siberia, Middle East. Pretty cold in Eastern Europe, cold on the dry side, and then Western Europe is on the warm and wet side. So again, those are just the trends here over the last 2 weeks here of April. Thought we'd talk briefly here about what we do here. Again, if you've looked at our website on our homepage left here, you see that we've had the November 2020 outlook up for months now. We talk about both the weather and the influence on seasonal sales. So we're predicting seasonal sales for some of these we like to call our weather-savvy clients. Again, hundreds across the world here, Fortune 500 type clients. We do way more than what you see on our website here. So this example report here is a simple syndicated view of November 2020. An important month as retailers and suppliers that are getting hit very hard, obviously, here in Q1, early Q2. Some risk as we get into the Q4 season as well. So we're going to be talking about that with some of our clients here. But certainly some risk with a much warmer November. Not only tell folks what the weather's going to do, but the chart here left is exactly what their sales will do week by week. Every store, every DC on Earth. So it's a pretty cool technology. It's won lots of technology awards, and we call it our power of 1 degree. So we quantify the significance of both temperatures and rainfall on seasonal category sales, project those out a year by store. And again, the technology does that in about 30 seconds. So it's a pretty cool what it does. And it's highly accurate. So we always say this is our year-ahead accuracy over the last year and a half or so. But what we notice here is just that the error in this forecast, so the bars of the forecast, the dotted lines, the actual for both temp and precip, the error rate is actually substantially less than you would see in a week 2 forecast almost all the time, and even less than sometimes a week 1, day 1 through 7 short range forecast. So we always say that physics is great for your short range day 2, 3 forecast, but not so great when you're trying to do anything out a year. So again, I pretty much had a data dump everything we learned at Rutgers in terms of physics and fluid dynamics to actually project these trends a year out. So that's how we do it. Again, if you want to blame anybody for the cold, we had a really cold Friday here in the east. We even saw some snow showers here in eastern Pennsylvania. So I blame my cuckoo bird little girl, Angelina, who had her Elsa dress on. So if you had some snowflakes in your area, I know a lot of folks here in the Northeast did, it's all her fault. But the good news is we went through the Easter weekend here. It was 57 by Saturday and actually hit 70 on Easter Sunday. So my girls were pretty happy about that warmer weather. So with that, folks, we hope you have a great week. Stay healthy, and we will be back here this time next week.